Hello, everybody, and welcome to my studio. It is me, Gideon. I'm also known as Gideonslight, and I'm your creatively fit coach, right? Welcome to this magical unicorn month of March with me, and I'm just so excited to share with you guys this beautiful unicorn painting. And this month of March, I'm going to be focusing on demonstrating how I created this beautiful masterpiece that is hanging in my studio. So a unicorn has always been my lifelong spirit guide. I just didn't always know it. I always liked unicorn paraphernalia, and my husband especially knows whenever I'm in a store, I just have to walk past the aisle with the plushy toys and give a unicorn toy a hug and send that into the world. And or any other store that has unicorn paraphernalia tends to sort of draw my attention, and before you know it, it's in my hand. So I've got some unicorn paraphernalia all around me. Even my friends know to, if they want to just give me a trinket to lift my spirit, they can give me a unicorn. So last year, some of my patrons also asked, after seeing this painting, if we could please paint a unicorn. And I think it was shortly after we did the unicorn painting in the park event. So that sort of sparked a lot of people's joy and wanted to get into the whole fantastical beast of the unicorn. So during this month of March, so by the way, you are welcome to join me on Patreon. It is my paid tier. It is only $5 a month, and you can always hop on and hop off as it suits you. So if you only want to become a Patreon for 1 month during the month of March, just to paint the unicorn with me, be my guest and do that. But hopefully you will stay a bit longer, because there are hours of exclusive content that I share with my Patreons. October last year we did a Buddha painting. So every 2 months there is an intense focus, and that is why we are focusing on the unicorn during the month of March. So do check that out. There will be links in this video that you can use so that you can join in on us painting the unicorn. I think there's already 3 episodes launched for this unicorn painting. I know I just completed the background of the focus painting that is happening in acrylic paint, and I will be taking you guys through this painting process one step at a time. There's even interesting and exciting little bits of what is it called, collage, that I bring into the painting. Now, on this big painting, you will see beautiful flowers. That is part of the unicorn's body, and that is all collage technique that I've done. This is literally a multimedia piece. I've got sequins built into this majestical horn. There's some glitter on here. I've worked with oil pastel. I've worked with colored inks. It really is interesting to see how mixed media can bring things together for you. So if you want to dive deep with me, now is the time. Click that button and join us over on Patreon. But today, to show you sort of my teaching style and to do something different, I'm going to be doing a quick beginner-friendly watercolor painting. And this is, of course, completely free of charge. It's your free art lesson for the month of March. And hopefully it will inspire you to hop over and get the full Monty. Now, even more news I want to share with you. It's not definite yet, but I am going to try, because on Patreon, I am able to offer digital products. So some of you might not be interested to become patrons, but you definitely would like to paint a unicorn with me. So at the end of the month of March, when this bundle is complete, I'm going to put it up on my Patreon, and you can buy the digital class with all of the episodes included. It's a once-off purchase, and you will have access for life through Patreon. And I will tell you guys a little bit more about that at the end, because I still have to activate my storefront on my Patreon. But going forward, I'm hopeful to offer digital products like a complete class bundle that you can buy once off, and then you have access to that for life, so that that is another stream of revenue for me. And I might even be looking in on doing some prints over on my Patreon. If you like some of my paintings, then I'm planning to do that over on Patreon as well. Then you can click on the image that you like and purchase the digital version of it and download it, and then you can have it printed on whatever you want to. So that might be exciting. So I will share a little bit more about that in the future as that option becomes available. I just wanted to begin to talk about that so that you guys know that something like that is going to be happening over on Patreon. This year, I am continuing to grow and expand, and I'm so excited because my very first commission just landed in the United States, and it was such a joy to paint that painting for Sandra, and now she has it. It arrived yesterday. That's so exciting. I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I really think that my means of sharing art internationally has opened, and we will talk a little bit more about this at a later stage. Okay, so for today, I did want to just share with you guys the reason for this sacred painting practice, because I think a lot of you think, okay, so why paint a unicorn? Or why paint a sea turtle? Or why paint whatever symbol? I'm focusing on a dream catcher was also one of our classes recently. So there's a reason for that. As a creatively fit coach, I really enjoy working with the symbolism and diving deep with the person that I'm coaching. In this case, it's you guys, or even for myself, because working with a symbol has deep meaning and significance. And as you create a portal like this on a canvas and you begin to switch over from your left brain into your right brain, what happens is you connect with your inner child, and you connect with your subconscious mind. You connect with all of your senses, and in effect, through all of these, you connect with your higher self. And there is an amazing conversation that can begin to happen between your higher self and your present consciousness. And we draw on wisdom and insight. And suddenly the canvas becomes a portal for your soul, through which you can communicate, begin to understand, gain some wisdom and insight, and begin to apply this to the canvas of your life, right? Because we are all the artists of our life. And when you recognize and become aware at that moment that you are literally creating the life that you are living, it sort of can do two things. It can either bring you into here's the big word, an existential crisis, because suddenly you realize you have to take ownership of your life and you have to take responsibility for all of your choices and actions in your life. Or it can have the awakening realization that you are an empowered being, and then the same recognition, you can literally begin to use your faculties, your mind, your thoughts, your dreams, your words, your actions, and the decisions that you make every day to begin to paint the landscape in your life that you desire to experience, that you desire to have more of. So when we go to a canvas to paint a symbol like a unicorn, it's not just art. It's not just paint on a canvas. And I think for some, a unicorn can be such a childlike kind of image. Why would you want to paint that? Especially if you're not into unicorns. But let me tell you why. We're not just painting a unicorn. You are painting your own unicorn. And if you have a desire to really meet your higher self and become a little bit more authentic in yourself, a little bit more empathic towards others and compassionate, understanding and wise, then maybe your inner unicorn wants to come forth. So this sacred painting practice is not just about paint and brush and canvas. It is so much more. It really is a living conversation that unfolds as you engage in this symbolism. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of insight that I gained recently. And I love to just use Google and my Google AI, and I like to ask it some beautiful questions. And my question to my AI today was, what is the meaning of having a unicorn as a spirit guide or a spirit animal? And this is what it shared. So I'm going to share that with you. A unicorn spirit animal can mean many things, including purity. A white unicorn can symbolize purity, innocence, and virginity. It can also mean pure love and compassion. Unicorns can represent pure love and compassion and can remind you to lead with a kind heart and to treat others with empathy. A unicorn spirit animal can mean that you have special magic that makes you unique and distinguishes you from others. Now, for me, that's like your personal gifts and talents and your insights and the way that you are. That is your own unique special brand of magic, because there's only one of you in the world. So that is so unique, right? So connecting with your unicorn spirit guide can really help you to recognize your own uniqueness and to shine your light in the world a little bit more brightly. A unicorn spirit guide can help guide you to your divine and spiritual purpose. So if you're seeking more clarity on your spiritual and divine purpose, your life purpose, then maybe it's time to connect with your inner unicorn and to ask it for direction, clarity, and guidance and assistance. A unicorn spirit animal can mean that you believe in the rightness of the universe. Isn't that beautiful? I absolutely love that. Other meanings of a unicorn spiritual animal include being a magical person, seeing beauty in the world, being virtuous or pure enough to have a unicorn appear, being an extraordinary person, having a strong sense of self, being always faithful to yourself, being kind and compassionate, always being ready to help others. Identify with all of these points, and hopefully you do too. And in that way you recognize that, maybe you are a unicorn spirit embodied in human form. And in a way, that is sort of what I feel as well. And then I also wanted to come back to this point, being virtuous and pure enough to have a unicorn appear. For me, if you come across this painting class, this video, or this Patreon advertisement, or this image, whatever, however it comes across your path, in a way, you are having an encounter with a unicorn. You are seeing a beautiful unicorn appear, and in that, in this instance, it sort of verifies that you are virtuous, you are pure of heart, and this is why you are seeing this class and this video and this call at this present moment. So hopefully you are open enough to recognize that this is a blessing of unicorns arriving magically during the month of March in 2024 in your life. I mean, really, I'm literally talking to you, right? That is just so beautiful. Last but not least, the unicorn is also said to represent new beginnings, and its appearance is said to herald a time of good fortune and happiness. So if you're ever falling down, just remember that the unicorn is always there to remind you that things will get better. Just believe in yourself and have faith in the magic of the universe. And everything that exists is in existence because of magic, in a way. Whether it be the universe exploding or a divine being speaking words and creating matter out of antimatter, whatever you believe, to me that is not as important as understanding that you are unique. You are a unique fingerprint that appears in the world. You have a unique vibration and light about you, and in a way this connects to my business name, Gideonslight, and I want to tell you that story because I think it really is relevant. For me, it was a huge awakening in my life the day I realized that there is only one of me, and with that magic that happened, that brought me into existence, with that miracle came a life purpose, came a divine purpose, a divine blueprint for my life, and a deeper understanding that I'm here to offer my light to the world as well. And for long, I really believed that it's only, other people that is more important, more influential, more talented, more gifted than me, that were icons to look up to, stars to look up to. But the day I realized that I must also bring my own light to the world, that is part of my life purpose. It doesn't help that I hide inside and never go out and never share my gifts and talents, my art, my insight, my wisdom with the world. Then there is surely something lacking. If the minute I disappear from this planet, then there's an energy lost. And in a way, I almost want to use the death of Princess Diana or of Mother Teresa as an example. Even Tina Turner, there are many. The minute their light is extinguished in this life, it's almost like you feel it. You feel a dimming in the light spectrum, like there is something missing in this physical 3D world that used to be there. And I began to recognize that in standing up and in sharing with the world, regardless of my limiting beliefs, regardless of my limitations and things like dyslexia and sometimes a lower self-esteem, regardless, I use all of these things as stepping stones to stand on top of it as a victor and to say, this will no longer define me. Yes, there is trauma. Yes, there is things that hurt me and disappointed me deeply in this life, that scarred me for life. But in spite of it, I still get up every morning and open myself up and share with the world the beauty that I observe in it. And I want to draw everyone's attention to the beauty that I see and the insight that I gain from that. So this is all part of a spiritual painting practice for me. You can see now it's much deeper than just putting paint to canvas that represents a unicorn. It really is a two-way conversation with your higher self, with your unicorn as your spirit guide. And I believe that spirit manifests itself to you in a way that you will find it most meaningful, most beautiful, most enlightening, least frightful. I believe that is how the universe represents and presents itself to us. And because it is an unfolding, it's an opening like a flower, this whole interaction with all that is. And if I embrace my eternal nature of my soul energy, it would be a magical moment like walking in a dark forest, or maybe even being scared of the unknown. And then this beautiful, radiant unicorn appears to just bring light and comfort and peace and security and a knowing that everything works out in the end. So that is sort of the whole energy encapsulated that I wanted to share with you guys as we go into this magical unicorn month of March. So hopefully you will be excited to join me on this journey and to sort of create the portal to meet your very own unicorn through the medium of art and canvas. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do a unicorn shape, very beginner friendly, and I can't wait to share that with you. So thank you for listening, and let's turn this camera around and get into the fun bit. I'll see you now. Right, everybody, welcome to this session. I can't wait to share with you guys. But before we do that, I just wanted to share a little bit of an oracle reading with you guys as I slip into my space here. And I just want to activate my watercolor salon so that the colors can get nice and juicy. And there was another little, what do you call it, watercolor palette over here that I wanted to use today as well. And this is a beautiful neon colored and pearlescent kind of colored watercolor. So I'm going to play with that today as well. So let me just activate those so long to get nice and juicy while we do a little bit of unicorn reading. Now I do this with my patrons every day during this month. It's just so much fun to have a conversation, because I really want you guys to benefit not just in an art way, but also in a spiritual way from this month of unicorn focus. So I'm calling in my unicorns and I'm asking for guidance. But before we do that, I keep forgetting to light my candle. I love to light a candle just to bring in that spiritual energy and awareness of light to the world, peace to the world, and I call on the light of the universe and of the unicorns made manifest just for us. And I'm asking for some insight and wisdom for today. So I like to put that down and just see where it cuts itself open metaphysically. And then that top card, soul satisfaction. Aim for that which makes your soul rejoice. And this is just so beautiful. I don't know if you guys can see. I hope you can. It's absolutely beautiful. So we have here a bit of a landscape with water, and out of the water leaps a dolphin. There is a Pegasus on here with a beautiful heart, a red heart, and this magical light falling down from the sky. These people in the scene, there's a man playing a flute, and here is a beautiful couple holding a child, and it really looks like a joyful, blessed moment that is celebrated in a rejoicing. So there is a happiness captured in this image that I absolutely love. So let's see what the author intended. And the author of this deck is Diana Cooper, and it's Unicorn Cards. I love this deck. So this is number 34, and it speaks of soul satisfaction. Unicorns remind you that doing that which makes your soul rejoice is the only thing that brings true and lasting happiness as well as spiritual growth. It's a time now to aim for this ideal, and they will help you if you ask. We must just ask our unicorns, and I'm asking on behalf of everybody today that is watching this video, that the unicorns will help you guys to recognize the things that brings you so much joy, and that you will have the courage to spend more time doing those things so that you can also experience lasting happiness. And the affirmation that goes with this card is, I do that which satisfies my soul. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, creating art absolutely brings joy to my soul. So I want to share that with you guys today as we get into this painting. And I have just snapshot this little outline of a unicorn. This image does not belong to me. You can find on Google a multitude of unicorn line drawings that are simple and easy to do. And today I'm going to show you how you can transfer a line image to your watercolor paper and to begin to have fun with it. So this is definitely beginner friendly. I'm going to have my watercolor pad, which I've got over here. It's an A3 size. It is a 300 GSM watercolor paper, so that's a good quality watercolor paper. I just used my painting tape or masking tape to just give myself a nice beautiful perimeter. I've got here what is this called, carbon. It's a pencil but without the wood, and this is a 6B, so it's quite soft and quite hard. We're going to use that. I've got my watercolors here. I've got my watercolor pan. I've got some brushes, and I've got this iridescent what do you call this, palette from Koi watercolors. It's Shakira color products. It's international. It's from Japan, but any watercolor will do. Even student grade watercolor cakes will do. You really don't have to have expensive stuff. In fact, I encourage you to go look at what your child has in their room if you've got children, and just grab on those art supplies and just have a bit of fun on paper here. Okay, so it's okay to use images from the internet to practice, and that's what we're doing. We're not going to sell this. I'm just using it, and I will look for the link of this particular outline so that you guys can find it, and I give credit to the creator of this line work, and thank you for this beautiful line work. So I want to share with you guys a very simple way to get this line work exactly on your page like it is being printed, because drawing is not everybody's thing, and if you haven't drawn for a while, it might be a little bit intimidating. So I want you guys to achieve success and experience this beautiful realm of having a sacred painting practice. Now, what you will need to do is, if you're going to paint on an A3 size watercolor paper, then ask the printing shop or your printer, just print it out on an A3 piece of paper so that the perspective and the size of your printout matches the paper that you are going to be painting on. Now I'm just going to use this carbon. I already did a layer, and you basically just put down a heavy layer of carbon from your pencil over the outline, but on the opposite side of the page, so that when you put this down, you've turned this into a type of a carbon paper, and then when you draw the outline, you will see that it sort of leaves a nice carbon outline for you to use on your watercolor paper, because now you're going to have a beautiful outline that you can use and play with on your watercolor paper. Now you can do this on canvas as well. If you don't want to use watercolor, you can always use your acrylic paints if that's your thing. So I'm just lining up my outline here with my masking tape. Now you can stick this down with a little bit of a sticky tape or whatever so that your paper doesn't move. But I'm going to hold on to this and then we're going to go for it. Then you can grab any pencil. You can even grab a wooden tool or whatever. You don't have to use a pencil, but I'm going to do a pencil so you can sort of see where I go with the outline. And I'm going to press firmly down as I outline this unicorn. And what's going to happen is the carbon on the other side, on the underneath, that is touching my paper is going to transfer. So let's quickly do this unicorn outline. And the glorious horn that is like a trumpet. It is announcing the present moment and all of the power contained from your magical mind of your soul made manifest, almost like a wand. It's almost like a sword of truth. Whatever you want to call the horn. And I'm just going to go past that line to give myself that beautiful cheekbone of the horse. I'm going to come down and finish that off. Now I'm going to keep this very two-dimensional, and we're just going to be playing with a watercolor today. So I'm not going to worry about detail. Now you can see how beautiful this outline manifested itself. I just went outside the line there, but that's no problem. Where is that little? And I'm just going to lightly just connect these lines just to give me and you viewing this a little bit of a clearer picture of where we are at. Okay, so I think that's a great start. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. You can also pause the video now and you can do this step on your paper first, and then when we come back we're going to start playing with our colors and with our little unicorn, and we want to manifest the universe in this image. So go ahead, tape up your paper, print out your unicorn, do the carbon transfer that I just demonstrated, and I'll meet you guys on the other side of that and we'll paint our unicorn. Alrighty guys, are you getting excited about this unicorn? I am definitely getting very excited. I can't wait to get into this painting section. So earlier this week on my Creative Heart group, I shared an image of this beautiful AI generated unicorn that is sort of represented by the universe, and the full picture is on the Creative Heart group. I will share it with the patrons as well. Again, it's not my image, it doesn't belong to me, I'm just using it for inspiration from the internet. So it's got the dark universe, it's got a rainbow, it's got all of the yummy colors that I want to see in my unicorn. So I'm going to be inspiring myself from this image, and I'm going to make it stand here so I can have a look at it as we paint. Now I want to show you guys a little bit of a resist technique, and for that you can use a white crayon or a white oil pastel. Both of them will work, and I want you just to sort of make some marks on your white paper, and in the top part I'm going to use my white crayon, and all of these little marks is just going to give me some resistance, and it's going to be some stars. So I'm going to just do this randomly These might be bigger stars. We will also play with our gouache a little bit later. But I want to show you guys just a variety of techniques that you can use to, play with your watercolor. And using a wax is going to resist the watercolor, so then these little spots will remain white. I'm going to do some with the white oil pastel in here on the horse. Listen to me, the unicorn. And I'm just gonna turn my little oil pastel in a variety of zones to just talk a little bit about the stars of the universe. Now I want to give my sort of unicorn a little bit of a white halo, so I'm going to go back to my wax crayon and I'm just going to do this outline with my wax crayon as well. And I'm going to go outside of my carbon line because you can always erase this later. I sort of just want that clarity around my unicorn because we're going to play with nice dark colors on the universe, on the space side of things. And I think it will give the unicorn a nice glow that will be pretty once we introduce the paint. Okay, so that's enough resist techniques for today. So now we're going to play with our unicorn, and again just activate your paints a little bit more. The pan where you're going to mix your colors, ready with some yummy water. Have a kitchen towel ready because we just want to loosely play with our unicorn, and we want to just bring in some beautiful yummy colors. Now I've got 2 bowls of water here. One is for rinsing and one is for clean water. Now I'm going to use my mop brush and I'm going to get it nice and juicy with clean water, and I'm just going to come and just fill my unicorn with some clean water. I want to activate my watercolor paper and give it a nice yummy first layer of water, so that when we play with our colors, the colors will blend and flow into each other, giving us a nice blended look. So we're going to do this more than once to really activate this piece of paper. And we're going to play with our unicorn first because I want to also maybe bring in some of the hairs that is flowing into the universe, so I can avoid them when I play with the universe in the background. You could also use masking fluid. That's definitely one way to protect the white of your page, or if you want to sort of mask out hair that you don't want it to be covered up with dark paint later. So I'm just coming from the side to see how much water is on my page, and I really want this paper to be activated and ready to flow. And then also it's okay if you go outside of your unicorn, because we're going to work with the universe in the background, and then you can make any corrections, because the unicorn is going to be light and pearlescent and flowy and ethereal, and the background is going to be dark and moody and interesting, just like space is. Okie dokie, so I'm going to put my clean water aside. I'm going to lift my watercolor paper and just show you guys, hopefully you can see a little bit of the water that is now in the unicorn. Nice and juicy. Now a bit flowed out of the unicorn, so I'm just going to come with a tissue and just dry that up. But like I said, if that flows out, that's completely okay. Alrighty then, this is exciting. So now let me get my watercolor brush. So excited. I'm gonna use this mop kind of watercolor brush, and it's like squirrel hair or something. So let's get the clean water on here and let's sort of mix a rainbow of yummy iridescent colors. So let's start with this beautiful bright reddish pink. I know you guys can see. And I'm just going to look at my reference material and just sort of imitate some of this flow of hairs wherever I see it. And I'm deliberately going outside of my paper there, and I'm just sort of imitating hair-like movements that will be pretty to uphold and behold a bit later. Oh my word. You guys, forgive my dyslexia as I get into this unicorn. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm gonna rinse and get my brush nice and clean. Let me just see here. Then we've got a nice pretty sort of apricot-y kind of color going into the yellow. So I'm gonna just bring some of this neon orange in here and just let the colors flow into each other a little bit. I'm gonna rinse. That is so nice and vibrant. Now let's get into these yellows. We've got some yellow hair over here. Not a lot, but some. Now let's get into these apple greens. And I see a little bit of apple green there and up here. That's nice. Let's get into the blue, and I'm going to mix it with the green. Just a little bit to make a little bit more of a turquoise. Just drop that in. Now I'm going to make my unicorn mostly blue. So I'm going to work around his face now and just drop this color in. So I've mixed a little bit of the green into my blue. I think I'm going to add very light yellow over here just to talk a little bit about light. I'm going to bring in a bit of violet at the bottom here just to indicate a little bit of shadow. And over here as well. It's so pretty when the violet mixes with the teal or the turquoise. It creates this beautiful grey, lavendery color. Just talk a bit about those muscles on the face. That looks really pretty. I'm gonna come back to this beautiful pink. Just drop a little bit more of this pink in there. Just playfully. Okay, so let's rinse out. I'm gonna totally dry my brush here on a towel, and I'm just going to come and lift a little bit of these pools and drag that color up there into the horn. The horn is nice and warm. Let's play with a little bit of those hairs. That looks nice. Alrighty then, so now you guys, we're gonna allow this to dry, and then when this is dry, we're gonna come over it and play with some of the pearlescent colors, giving it some richness. Here's a hair that I can pick up before it dries. There we go. Now I think it can be pretty, while this is nice and damp, to add a little bit of salt to give us, you can see here the spots where I made with the oil pastel is resisting the watercolor. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt, not a lot, just here and there. You can see I threw this out in my hand. This is just ordinary pink fine rock salt. And we're going to give this 10 minutes to dry, or you can dry it with a hairdryer. I do think that if you just leave this alone to create its magic and to flow where it wants to flow, then you will more likely have a beautiful watercolor effect. There's another hair there that I want to just move out of the way. Let me use a fine brush to just pick that up, otherwise it will continue to draw paint to it. There we go. Okie dokie. Oh, that's not a brush. Just want to move some of this paint down there. There we go. Okay. Cool. Me mumbling away. My air conditioner is running, so I'm going to give this a time to dry. Go have a cup of tea. Wait for yours to dry as well. Pause my video. And when we come back, we're going to play a little bit more with this unicorn. And then I think this paper is dry. I did use my hair dryer to speed things up a little bit, but I don't want to move any of this paint right now because this is quite a heavy body cotton paper. It's always a good idea to let your colors completely rest. So I thought instead, let's get into our background. Now our background, let me quickly refresh your memory as to sort of where I want to go with this. Have a very dark foundation, and we have this beautiful play of light, almost like an aurora, that gives us a bit of a rainbow. So I definitely want to try my best and capture that. So My rainbow is sort of going to have to go around like this, and then the rest of it will be quite dark. So again, let's just activate our bright colors. They are ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to pre-mix a very dark universe color. Oh, my water spray is almost empty. There we go. And I've got a little porcelain mixing bowl here on the side because I'm going to have to mix a lot of dark color that is ready to sort of be utilized. So let's begin there. I'm going to mix in this little bowl. I'm going to use my tincture pipette, I think is the right word. And let's just draw on this clean water. I think that is enough. And I want to sort of use a little bit of my Payne's Grey Black as a nice dark foundation to begin to mix a color for the background. Now I don't want to do this twice. I only want to do this once. Now I know that watercolor dries much lighter than you see it. I'm going to add a little bit of darks as in violet. And I'm also going to add a little bit of indigo blue. And because your blues and purples are usually the darkest colors on the color wheel, that's going to give me a nice deep space background. Now you can test on your paper towel to see how dark that is. That is nice and dark, but it's not dark enough yet. So I'm going to continue to add a little bit more pigment to my water. But you can see I'm not adding more water. I keep using the same water on the brush and I keep adding pigment to that. Let's add a bit more darks as in violet. That's nice, and a little bit more Payne's Grey. Now let's compare. You can see this is much darker than the first swatch. I'm going to add a little bit more blue and violet. Because I want the sky to look alive. I don't want it to look just grey or just black. You could obviously do that as well, but I do believe in a good color mixture. Okay, cool. So that is prepared. So I'm going to rinse that out and let that brush rest a little bit. Now, we're going to prepare the background again with the mop brush and clean water, but this time I'm going to basically go around the outside of my unicorn. And now I've got these clear areas that I can avoid because I know that's where the hair is. So that's sort of why I painted the unicorn and his mane first. So now we want to prepare the negative space for our color application. Isn't it fun, you guys? I mean, really, you could be doing some boring things on a Sunday. Or you could be painting a unicorn with me. I mean, really. I think that option is quite clear. Now, I'm not going to bother with all of these details right now because I can always come in later when I can concentrate and fill in the hairs there, but you know, it's watercolor, so it can be loose and playful. It's not about painting every single detail. It's really more about allowing the paint to create the magic for you. You must just give it space to flow. I'm leaning to the side so I can see where I'm depositing my water. I'm really not worried, but focusing on the zone where the rainbow needs to go, because that's what we're going to start with, and then immediately we're going to go in and work with that dark color. Now this is another reason why I mixed that color quite dark, because we are pre-wetting our page, and I'm painting with my left hand here, can you believe it? I'm literally holding my head level with the page here so I can see the shiny reflection of the water as I put this layer down. Now, putting this clear water down, like with the unicorn in phase 1, it activates this tissue paper, or this cotton paper rather, that the watercolor paper is made from, and it begins to open these paper cells to receive the flow of water. All right, again. Now let me just get my reference material on again. Of course, my page closed. There we go. Alrighty, so I'm going to begin with this cooler color. I see some of the purples and the greens here, out of which the sort of rainbow emerges. A little bit of pink here as well. I'm going to rinse that off as we bring in some of the green, and I'm going to start to just talk a little bit about this rainbow going over like this. Let's rinse that. Let's get a little bit of the blue. Then this mixes together a little bit. Rinse out. Let's get into our magenta pink. Let's get into our yellow, our orange, forgive me. I'm just going to grab my tissue and I'm going to just catch some of that yellow, orange that's running away. Rinse, making sure my brush is clean, and I'm going to get into the yellow. Bring some of this blue over. A little bit of this violet. Okie dokie. That looks pretty, so it looks like an explosion of a rainbow. Right, rinse off. I'm going to completely dry out my brush now, because I don't want more water to dilute my background color that I've pre-mixed. And now I'm just going to bring that in and allow it to flow into my rainbow. Just want to use my clean tissue to just lift up the color that went over the wall. Use a thirsty brush just to pick up any puddles of color that's going to create blooms later. So you can see how helpful it is to pre-mix your color, especially if you have a larger area to paint and you want a little bit of stability in that color. That looks really pretty. So you could see there for a minute I was concentrating very hard. Okay, I'm going to just use my tissue to stop that flow. I don't want it to contaminate my entire rainbow. I quite like this depth down here, so I think we're going to use the rest of our paint here, and I'm just going to drop it in, looking for a high contrast around the unicorn's face. And down here, maybe another drop in this corner and that corner. So while the paint is wet, you can introduce more color and allow it to flow. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of this blue as well. I think this is a phthalo blue. I'm not entirely sure. Don't want to lie to you. Let's just bring this paint back here. I think that is lovely. So I love the contrast here close to the hair. Let's rinse out. I'm quite happy. So now I'm just going to have a kitchen towel handy and maybe just lift some of this puddles up, adding a little bit of texture there. Definitely want to lift that bit up. I want the unicorn's rainbow to remain pure there, and maybe some here as well. But I do like how the rainbow sort of disappears into that paint, so I'm happy with that. Let's allow this to dry. In fact, let's play with a little bit of salt on here as well. I think it's just going to add a whimsical watercolor kind of vibe to it, and maybe talk a little bit more about stars in the universe. That's a lot of fun. Alrighty, I think it's time for another cup of tea. You can hear my voice. It's a bit dry. Just pick up any puddles that's connected to your tape so that it doesn't seep under your tape and ruin your nice white border. And that will also prevent any unwanted blooms that can form afterwards, because the water can eventually begin to go under your tape, and then later when the paper dries, it sort of draws this water back out again, causing a little bit of unwanted effect on your paper. So that's just a little tip I can give you if you want to have a nice clean edge. Right, I'm going to leave this literally to dry by itself now. I'm going to make a cup of tea. I invite you to do the same. Pause the video, drink your cup of tea, and when we come back, we're going to just see awesome. This beautiful painting is dry. Oh my word! I'm especially pleased with how the salt created the most beautiful little flecks of stardust in the background. Oh my word, it's so pretty. So when you come back to your painting and it's dry, you can just take a tissue and just wipe the salt away. It will come right off your paper and you will have these beautiful plumes that in this case talks all about the stars in the universe. It's magical. Okay, so I'm just going to use my kitchen towel and I'm just going to rub on these little dots that I made with my oil pastel that resisted the paint beautifully, also giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about the stars in the universe. The wax crayon ones have resisted, but not as much. It sort of was more effective here on the outline of the unicorn, and you can now see also why I really enjoyed that outline, because it gives us a little bit of contrast here. So I'm just going to use an eraser. I just want to make sure that it's clean, that there's no buildup of carbon on there that's going to smear off on my painting. And before we go into this painting, I'm just going to erase the carbon line as much as I can. Oopsie daisy. I think this turned out so pretty. This is the joy of coming back to a watercolor painting, and seeing the paint dry, and it's almost like in your absence, or while you were giving it some time to dry, you allowed for some magic to take place and to happen on the canvas and on the paper. So sometimes while you're busy with watercolor, it's very easy to think, oh my god, it's not doing what I wanted to do, it's going too dark, it's gonna do this or do that, and you can begin to fiddle with it almost too much, and that's when you start to lose the magic of watercolor, when you want to control it too much. So always remember to just leave a little space for the watercolor to do its own thing, and to sort of allow the magic of watercolor to help create those happy accidents. So all I'm going to do now I don't want to do a lot of detail on this painting right now. I really want to keep it beginner friendly, but I do want to play with a little bit of this pearlescent color. So I'm going to go in with this beautiful pink kind of color, and I'm just observing the hair here on my unicorn. I just want to sort of just talk a little bit about these beautiful movements. Let's rinse that one out and let's mix another one. I do like a bit of variety. Let's go for this beautiful apricot kind of color. That's pretty. Let's bring some of that right in there. Now I think I've covered up the ear bit. Where's the ear bit? Okay, you see? When you make a little mistake with watercolor, it happens. It's easy to sort of ignore a shape where there should be a shape. And then you can just use your paper towel and just lift up that space. And even though some color was deposited, it will still sort of give you the opportunity to talk about that again. In fact, I want to take it a little bit higher still. There we go. And then when I'm allowing this to dry, then we can come back to that and just give it a beautiful finish. I just want to talk a little bit about these beautiful mane hair by playing a little bit here with color. I added in a little bit of the yellow. Let's get into some of this violet. Isn't that pretty? It's like a lavender color. And let's just use this opportunity to just talk a little bit about the unicorn's mane. Don't want to cover everything up. I'm just going to do a few subtle movements. Let's do a little bit of blue. Maybe not that blue. Let's do a little bit more of this turquoisey color. Let's do the green. And let's add a little bit of this blue. Here we go. That looks nice. And down here as well. Let's add a drop of water. Just soften some of these lines. So you see, it's very playful. It's just a suggestion, and when these pearlescent colors dry, then we're going to have a little bit of reflectivity. I'm going to awaken this pearl white that we have over here, and I'm going to use it because there's a little bit of color on my brush. It almost makes this a little bit of a gray. So I do want to just talk a little bit about the shadow without really making it much darker. But can you see, just add a little bit of dimension to it. That's really pretty. I want to add some to the horn. And And I'm going to add a little bit of this beautiful gold. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about that spiral growth of the unicorn's horn. And just ground it there. Beautiful! Okay, I quite like that. Let's get into this violet color again. In fact, that's very bright. I'm going to switch over here to my darks in violet. I just want to create a little bit of an eye over here. Not too much detail. Just enough to just talk a little bit about those important features. In fact, I'm going to just lift it a little bit. I don't want it to be too dark. That's good enough for me. Alright, now you guys, I want to play a little bit with the stars, and we're going to play a little bit with our white gouache. White gouache is such a fabulous place or medium in order to do a little bit of white stars. Now I've got some white gouache. This is my tube that I keep here, my watercolor. It's designer's white gouache from Winsor & Newton. It's a rather good white gouache. It has a beautiful opacity, and because it's gouache, it just simply activates again like watercolor. So it is watercolor, it's just opaque watercolor, whereas most of your well-known watercolor is a little bit more translucent, and that gives you this beautiful luminous color. Now I'm going to use my fan brush, and this really helps me to flick a little bit of stardust into the drawing. And of course, the little splatters do go everywhere. So if you want to protect an area of your painting that you don't want white little flecks, then you can always just cover it up with a little bit of tissue paper. But I don't mind the white flecks everywhere, because this is my universal unicorn that I am manifesting here, and the starlight is visible throughout its body. It's one with the universe. So if you ever wanted splatter and liked splatter, here is your opportunity to do just that. Now, I think we've arrived at a beautiful place in our unicorn painting. So I hope that you are inspired to go and grab your watercolor and to try this yourself, and to bring some unicorn energy into your world and enjoy that beautiful, vibrant, colorful energy. And if you do paint along today, then please take a photograph of your finished unicorn and share it with me on the Creative Heart. I will put the links in the description of this video so that you can peruse that. I also want to encourage you to join me over at Patreon as we get into our unicorn portal painting, and we're going to do that in acrylic paint. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I'm going to fiddle a little bit more with this. Just want to bring in a little bit of detail here. It's just me. It's optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I think the painting speaks beautifully by itself, and I think just because I like it, I'm going to add a little bit of moonlight here to this drawing, because I would like to just bring in a little bit of focus and contrast to my unicorn's facial features. And the reason why I like this and I'm confident in doing it is because we've been practicing, haven't we, in our Patreon. One of the preparations for the painting is to sketch a little bit and get familiar with the unicorn's features and shapes. So I think that is why I've got a little bit of confidence going over some of these lines and just bringing a little bit of contrast that speak a little bit about the details. And the brain completes the rest. I'm going to just bring in some gold here in a playful way. Just accentuate these little lines a little bit more. Bringing some magic into the horn, which is of course one of the main features of our painting. And I'm going to use the white here just to talk again a little bit about this ear shape. That's really cool. And you can also do a little bit of a star focus on some of these white spots. That looks nice. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Where shall we do another one? That's too close. Maybe this one. Yes, that one looks great. Yeah, just enough to talk a bit about the universe. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. If you really want to take it to a whole nother level, you are also welcome to add in a little bit of glitter if you really, really want to. But I'm quite happy with where we are in this painting. I think just to add a little bit of shadow into the ear will help to complete that picture for me. So I will let that dry, and in the meantime, I'm going to pull off my masking tape. Now, a few tips about masking tape and pulling it off your watercolor paper. Unfortunately, you have to make dead sure that your painting is absolutely, completely dry, especially around the edges. If you're not sure, then you can always just run a little bit of hot air from your hairdryer over it, and that should begin to release the glue of your paper as well, and then you'll have less chance of tearing your artwork. So also remember to pull away from your artwork and go slow so that you can make sure that the paper don't catch. But I'm going to give this a blast of hot air a little bit with my hairdryer, so I know that is dry as well, and then I will peel off the paper for you guys. Alrighty, let's go for it. Exciting! Let's pull off this masking tape. Now I started on the edge here, so I'll move this around a bit. So you see I do take a bit of a flap over to the other side. And now that I have heated it with my hairdryer, it should come off fairly easy. And it does. Now, one of the other tips I can give you, before you stick the painter's tape down, you can also just stick it to your clothes so that most of the glue, the most tacky part, gets worn out a little bit, and that way it's also not as sticky, so it won't grab so tightly against the paper as when you use the painter's tape when, you know, freshly off the roll. And then you can really make sure that the painter's tape is really sealed with your paper really well before you start painting. And then you have less chance of paint seeping through and breaking the seal. But you know, it can happen. And you can always paint it white again. Clean it up a little bit. But when you get it framed, then this is exactly the part that will be behind a nice mounting board. So it just gives the person who frames your art some space to work with so that you don't lose any of your artwork because you've painted all the way to the edge. And there you have it. We have our beautiful watercolor unicorn, and it is most colorful and playful and beautiful and cute. And I absolutely love these little stars that the salt has made in the paint, and then the white splatter over that gives us this beautiful galaxy in the background. Look at this beautiful rainbow of color that is shooting forth from this galaxy in the far distant background, and it's absolutely beautiful. The richness of the color, the playfulness of the unicorn. And let me just lift this paper up on the side a little bit for you so that you can appreciate that beautiful pearlescent finish that was achieved with the pearly kind of watercolor. Isn't it just pretty? I mean, really? So I'm excited to dive a little bit deeper with you guys as we continue our journey with the acrylic unicorn. So I'll see you guys over in Patreon shortly. Bye bye for now.